Now we're going to take the 3D transform a little bit further into another thing that you can do with 3D transformation, which is to do what's called a parallax motion. And a parallax motion is when you have things look like they're moving at different rates because some things are closer to you and some things are further away. So in this example, I've got a boat, I've got some text, and then I've got this background. All right, now I've got the background locked. We can also play with the background a little bit. So in here, I'm going to start off with pushing this text so that it's behind the sky. Go ahead and grab it on the Z-axis and just push it back a little bit. It doesn't need to be far. That's absolutely fine. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, using my option, and go ahead and duplicate my artboard. And I want to go ahead and I want to make this boat bigger. I want to bring it closer to me. That's the opposite way. Yeah. All right. Let's do that. You know what? I'm going to have it. It's going to come up a little bit too. Now the other thing I want to do is to go ahead and grab this beach. And I don't want it to be -8. Maybe now I want it to be +200. I'm going to go ahead. There we go. So now I've gone from my start to my end point. All right, now let's go into prototype here. I'm going to go from here. I want to auto animate to this guy in ½ second. All right, let's see what happens. And you see that let me have this guy go back. In our prototype mode, I want to be able to click on the artboard, send it back, auto animate. You know what? Let's go ahead and give this 2 seconds. And I'll give that 1. Oops, that's a Q. That's not a 1. There we go. All right. Now you can maybe see a little bit easier what's happening. It comes through. And you see it kind of settle into place. Now, I had them move about the same amount. This guy's gone up to 200. This is 150. Let's make this really obviously bigger. So you can see how they kind of change at different rates. And how it goes behind. And then it goes behind. And in fact, if we wanted to, in the beginning, let's go back to this guy. Let's make this go really far back. Let's go -100. So it's really going far. It's the more extreme. Woo. Now you notice that once it hits here, once it hits 0, it goes behind the sky. So if we want it to also look like maybe it's fading as it goes behind the sky, maybe it also fades. It's going to start looking a little bit more natural because things tend to kind of fade into view. Now, we could also play with this background here. So I'm going to unlock you and unlock you. Now, as we get closer to our boat, maybe this also gets a little bit closer, but not by much. Maybe let's do 20. Maybe that comes into play by 20. And because it kind of fades into the sky here, you don't notice the change in between the two. So let's go ahead. You can see there's a little bit where you can see the cutout between the two. So this is where you have to be careful if you are doing something like this. And you can see it a little bit here as well. When you have these elements and they're lining up, you sometimes need to go into the background and just kind of clean them up a little bit. So in this case, you can see that the issue is over here, because as this has gotten closer, You can kind of see that a little bit. So a lot of times what you'll end up doing is you will actually like add in some blue behind to make sure that it matches. You have to kind of like bump out some of the other parts of the images to make it seem right. So that gives you an idea of how you could maybe build from a single image a bit of parallax. But the easiest way to do parallax is if you build all of these things on their own, if they're actually things that you've created, and then you make sure that you include more of the background so that when you do the parallax change, you don't actually see the little white spaces in between. But I hope this gives you some ideas for your animation.